We all have gathered here for capacity building training webinar, and the topic for the same is competency based education. Here I'll stop and I'll tell you that I want to read these outcomes very clearly for all of you. Very clearly, because I want you people to know what I expect from you all to do after this webinar. You all should be able to do these things when the session will be over. So I'll read them very clearly and you listen to them very nicely. At the end of this webinar, participants will be able to differentiate competency-based education and traditional education. They will be able to describe what is meant by the phrase learning outcomes, discuss the advantages of using learning outcome, apply the relationship between learning outcomes and assessment to construct child-centric pedagogy. So all these learning outcomes you should be clear with, because I expect you all to be able to do all these things. So let us start with the introduction. Competency based education is an approach to teaching and learning, more often used in learning concrete skills than abstract learning. So, friends, we are talking about concrete skills and learning, that is abstract learning. I'm still on the same slide, okay? Don't worry, let it go. Yes, I was here. Here we are talking about concrete skills versus abstract learning.
Amita ma'am. Sharon ma'am.
Oh, yes, she's, I think.
Something has gone wrong.
Uh, Sharon ma'am, will you call or shall I call her? Okay.
Anyways, by the time she'll be back, you just think on this. What is this competency-based education? She has just explained very two beautiful terms: traditional learning and concrete, learning, abstract and concrete. By the time, just think on these abstract in mathematics, not in mathematics in journal also. Can anybody tell me or write something in the chat box? What do you understand by concrete or abstract? What do you mean by concrete? Or if somebody wants to share something, just raise your hand. It's there in the option in the chat box so that we can unmute you. She said in the beginning, let this session. So if you will not speak or respond back, how this session will go on? Nobody has replied so far. What do you mean by concrete? Okay, tell me the dictionary meaning of these two words. Just forget about this competency-based education. What are the dictionary meaning of these two words, concrete and abstract? Yes. I'm surprised. Nobody is replying. Yes, concrete is visible. Somebody has written concrete is visible, correct. What else? Concrete means learning which they able to apply. Okay. What else? What is the major difference between concrete and this abstract? Please tell me, Chinky, the moment she'll be back.
Anji, sure sir, sure. Sharon?
I have just called and she's rejoining.
Okay.
She was not aware.
Okay.
Relate with the daily life. Relate with the daily life. Okay. Learning by doing. Abstract is more theoretical. Fine.
Hello, am I audible? I'm so sorry. I don't know what
Yes,
happened.
yes, yes. No problem. You just continue. You just continue.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, Jay. So we were talking about the specific skills versus abstract learning. So I was telling you that abstract learning is short term and it doesn't last long. It finishes with exams or something. But the skill once developed, it never ends. It stays with the kids forever. Like I was taking example of a small baby who start learning how to walk. So what happens? Parents help that baby once, twice, thrice, or sometimes they hold his hand and help him walk. But he's unable to walk in the very
Your
beginning.
screen, your screen is not visible.
Okay, sir. Uh,
Amita ma'am, you are visible and it is not visible.
Just start sharing the screen once again, and then you come up to that slide. It will be done. Don't worry. Just take it very easy.
it's coming host disabled participant screen sharing. So I think I'm not a
No, no.
host now.
Maybe you have rejoined. Jo Chinky just made her
Yes.
the co-host so that she can start.
Please,
Now, please try.
screen sharing.
No, still she's not the co-host. No, 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 no. Chinky, just make
Oh,
her the co-host first.
I have made her.
Yes, yes, yes. Now you can share the screen.
Okay,
Yes, yes,
okay.
yes.
Thank
Yes.
you, ma'am.
Welcome.
I was talking about a small baby learning how to walk, and parents help that baby for some time, and then baby knows that it is difficult to walk right away. So he start taking the support from the surrounding also, from the walls or the things which are available. So he takes some support for some time, and then one day the day comes when the baby started walking without any support, without parents help, without support from the surrounding. That is the day when the skill of walking is developed in that baby, and that skill stays with that baby forever throughout the life. He never forgets how to walk again. So that way we have to help our students to develop mathematical skills in them, so that when they go out of the school for the professional life, they don't need our support or from support from the external things. They themselves should be able to face the reality. So for that, I want to tell you that we should concentrate on the skills, developing the skills in students, not making them learn maths. So next, we are talking about the definitions I have. According to Richards and Rogers, the competency based education focuses on outcomes of learning. CBE addresses what the learners are expected to do rather than on what they are expected to learn about. I'm again telling you same thing I told you. It basically emphasize on what the learners are expected to do, not on what they are expected to learn. We don't have to make them learn, we have to make them able to do something. Next, another definition says that competency based education programs are an alternative way for learners to gain skills employers want from employees. So, in this competitive era, employers are looking for smart and competent employees, someone whom they can rely on, someone who can think out of the box, someone who is confident enough, and not for someone who is not confident and who's purely do-as directed. So I'm so sorry to say that our traditional teaching method used to create such employees who are not that much confident and who cannot think out of the box. So we right now we have to think that we have to understand rather that their real exam starts when they finish their education and go and face the real world, the professional life when they enter. That is the real exam where they start to face the real world. So we have to shift now to make our students more confident and reliable. Now these competencies, how to generate these competencies in our learners, three of these things together will help our learners to make competent enough. You can see yourself, it's shown so nicely here that these three things, we provide them knowledge and we help them develop different skills. And here attitude matters a lot, both teachers as well as students' attitude. Teachers' attitude should be always helpful, always ready, and its teachers' focus should be always on the students and not on the teacher.
Sharon ma'am,
I'm calling again. I don't know.
Sharon ma'am,
Yes, Chintu?
please call.
Yes, you continue. I think there is some network issue over there. Maybe that's why she is, the connection is being lost again and again.
Might be, sir, this is fresh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The moment she'll join again, just make her co-host once again, because again there will be a problem of screen sharing there.
आ जाओ.
By the time anybody wants to share something, please share something by unmuting yourself. Just raise your hand so that we can unmute you. We are trying to contact her. This is called technology. No technology can replace a teacher. If it's a real classroom, there is no worry. A teacher can continue for an hours. But when technology is there in between, we are helpless sometimes. No technology can replace a teacher.
Chinky ma'am? Chinky ma'am?
Yes, yes.
मैं यहाँ से screen share कर रही हूँ and she is joining through her phone.
Okay, ठीक है. You share the screen and she will continue with the lecture.
Come up to that slide only where she was.
Okay.
Yes, she was on that. Yes, next.
This one.
Next. Yes, there she was. No, the back one, back one. 3 C's.
Competence.
Yes. Yes. By the time she'll be joining back, just read this slide very carefully, all the participants. since you all are the mathematics teachers and competency and skill word is very much related with maths.
Sarandeep ma'am, am I audible now? Can you see me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
so sorry, everybody. I don't know what is the problem going on. So I have switched back
No,
to my
no,
phone
no
now.
problem.
Amita ma'am, I have made you
No
vessel.
problem.
Okay.
Amita ma'am, you
Okay.
give me a hint to next slide, then I will take the next slide. Okay.
So
So
I've
now she'll run the slide from, yes,
yes. Thank you. Thank you,
she'll run the
Saranam.
slide on your behalf.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
continue.
So here we were talking about these three things which really promote the competencies, knowledge, skills, and attitude. And here I want to pay emphasis on this line which is underlined. CBE is a process, not a product. So we are continuing with this learning process. We are not ending it with the end of the session or with the end of exam. So our main concern is a long-term goal, not one class goal. So that's it for this slide, Saran ma'am. The purposes of CBSE, it helps us to measure students' learning rather than time. So main concern is about students learning here, and it harness the power of technology for teaching and learning. And you people know that these days we people are doing the most of it. We are harnessing the power of technology because we are unable to reach our learners personally. So this is a time we are doing the maximum use of technology. Next. So here we start. The role of the teacher is fundamentally changed. Our role is totally changed, and teachers, don't worry, we can do it. You can do it, we can together do it. So next is how teacher needs to define the competencies clearly and develop valid and reliable assessment. See, it's our duty now to define the competency. So in the beginning of the topic only, we should tell to the students that these are my expectations, and you all should be able to do these things and perfect in these competencies. So when you'll define it nicely, and along with that, when you'll prepare a very valid and reliable assessment related to that topic, then the students' knowledge will be checked very nicely. So these two things we have to take care. First, define competencies nicely, and then give a valid and reliable assessment for students.
Next.
Next, ma'am. Okay. So what are advantages of CBE? In this CBE, participants will achieve competencies required in the performance of their jobs. It's not, we are again, I'm telling you, we are not talking about one class, third class, fourth class, or fifth class. We are talking about their performance in their jobs. Okay. And another advantage is that participants build confidence as they succeed in mastering specific competencies. Naturally, when they'll develop those skills in them, they will be more confident. The third advantage is self-pacing. Participants can move quickly through the material they know or take more time if they need it, because it's totally on them. They can, if some topic they think it is easy, they can just give it a very less time, and if they think the topic is difficult one and they need to give a little more time on that topic, then they can give more time. It is totally self-pacing. Now let's come on learning outcomes. You can see the mind of a teacher. What do I want my students to learn? How can I express my goals to find and make these goals clear to my colleagues and myself also? So all these things keep on going in the mind of a mathematics teacher. Next, learning out is, now I'm telling you the meaning. The learning outcome is a statement of what a learner is expected to know, understand, or be able to do as a result of a learning process. That is what. When I started my webinar, I told you I'm reading my outcomes very clearly for you. That is it, because I told you I expect you all to do this in the end. So that is the main purpose of learning outcome. Learner should know what is expected from that learner, what to know, what to understand, what and which skill should be developed in that. Next, please. Why? Learning outcomes are most important because, next, I'll be telling you some of the reason why they are very important. Identify outcome is an effective way to review curriculum and content. This leads to a more balanced and well-sequenced curriculum. Next, it is effective in designing appropriate assessment because our assessment should be purely and directly linked with our outcomes. Lecture or teacher know exactly what students are expected to learn in their own unit and in the previous units also. Staffs are easily able to evaluate the effectiveness of their teaching. Have the outcomes been achieved? Because our assessment is totally linked with outcomes, so teacher can see herself or himself that is he teaching in the right way, is the outcome achieved. So next, an instructional should be effective in providing information about outcomes.
Sharon ma'am.
I'm calling home again.
They are expected to learn from each unit. This is what outcomes, when teacher states outcome in front of students, then they know that what they are expected to do in the end. Students will know exactly how their learning will be assessed. Because they know the outcomes, then they will be knowing what kind of assessment they will be getting in the end of the topic. Students will begin to take more responsibility for their own learning when they know what they are expected to do and what standard they are expected to achieve. So it's totally about the responsibility factor. The responsibility of teacher will be a little less than the student in this CBE, because it shifts on student. They have to take responsibility for their own learning. Next, please. Our LOs, good LOs are uh, smart LOs. In SMART, S stands for specific, M for measurable, A achievable, R relevant, T for time bound. So for specific, here I'll tell you, our LO should be specific and not generalized, because we have in fractional numbers topic, you can't write in LOs that they will be having knowledge about the fractional number. This is so generalized aim, but we'll not write that. The LO should be like the student will be able to reduce the fractions in lowest term, add or subtract. Be specific there, not generalize. Then M for measurable. Our learning outcome should be measurable. So we have to use words which are totally measurable, and we should avoid words using of those words which are not measurable. Like we cannot use understand. We cannot measure the word understand, how much they have understand. We should not use the word appreciate. We should not use the word learn. Rather we should use some words which are measurable. Then comes achievable. Our LO should be achievable. That means I'm not telling here that we should bring the standard of education down. Actually, we have to raise the standard of education, but slowly. So, but we cannot make our LOs very difficult. We should not make the LOs on a very high standard, because we have to think of the learner. The LO should be achievable. Like if my first LO says that students will be able to add fractions. So when student actually will be able to add the fraction, then he'll say, wow, I can add the fraction now. So that means first LO is achieved. So look at the encouragement the student will get then when he'll achieve on the LOs. So the LO should be achievable. Then it should be relevant. R for relevant, relevant to the topic only. And the last one is it should be a little time bound also. Next, please. Okay. Here next, please. Are we on this or on this? Both?
This.
Okay. So here I've shown you our helpful 100 words which you can use while creating your LOs. In your lesson plan, when you'll be making your lesson plan, you can make use of.
Say loudly.
Okay, I'm not audible.
Audible?
Okay, I have to be I have to be
You
loud.
are audible. No, you are quite audible. Just continue. You are quite
Okay,
audible.
sir. Okay, sir. Thank you. So
Time
these
limit also.
okay. What is the time? It's 10. Okay, so I
It's
have
10.
to hurry up right now. Okay, sir. So our LO should always begin with the STEM sentence. And the STEM sentences, I have two kind of STEM sentences here. One is a student will be able to. One sentence says students will be able to, and the second sentence says to enable the students. Now I want your responses on this, teachers. Please help me out and tell me which one should we prefer. Should we prefer to enable the students, or should we prefer students will be able to? Please hurriedly you can put your responses in the chat box. And here we have the words which we are going to use after the STEM sentence. And you can use any other words instead of knowledge. We can use all these words. And instead of understand, please don't use understand word in your LOs. And all these, we have covered all the Bloom's taxonomy here. So you can use them. So is there any response, or should I explain which sentence should we use? The STEM sentence.
Some teachers are saying the students will be able to, and some are saying to enable the students.
Okay, it's a mixed response, that means. Okay, so here I must clear to you that the most favorable sentence, that is 10 sentences, students will be able to. Instead of to enable students, we will be writing students will be able to. Why? The reason behind that is to enable the students means it is teacher's responsibility only to enable his or her students. But whereas student will be able to, it is mainly student's responsibility that he should be able to do this afterward.
Most of the responses are students will be able to, Amita ma'am.
Y- Yes. Okay. Thank you. It's the correct one. Very good, ma'am. And in to enable the students, there is so less involvement of the child, and it is child's teacher centered. Whereas students will be able to in this, it is mostly student centered, and more of the involvement of the child is there, and definitely the responsibility factor also increases in students. They should know that they have to do this. Okay, so next please. These are some words which we have to avoid totally using while writing LOs. Please read them, that they are not measurable verbs. So we should avoid them: appreciate, cover, realize, be aware of, familiarize. All these words, please read yourself, especially understand word is there. So we cannot write understand, learn, discover. Please avoid using these words in your LOs. Should I move to the next one? Okay, next. Now, this is showing the comparison of competency-based education and the traditional education, which we were doing earlier. In competency-based education, it is skill-based, and traditional education is based on contact hours. As I've told you that we are mainly concerned about helping them develop particular skills. Okay, and not, it should not finish by the end of the session or term. It should stay with them forever. Secondly, in CBE, teacher's role is like a coach. We have to coach them, not instruct. Traditional education, it was instructing, but now we have to become coach. We have to prepare our students like our players. A coach prepare his player. He try to put in all the skills in the player, make that player practice again and again, and then make him confident enough. But in the end, coach don't play for the player. Players have to play themselves. They have to face variety of opponents. So our role is of coach here now. Next is, it is self-paced and online, whereas traditional education was time-bound, and we have to be meet personally there. CBE is less expensive, whereas traditional education is more expensive. And in the end, students finish as they are able to. Whereas in traditional education, it ends up with the term. That is the main thing I'm emphasizing again and again. We don't have to aim on the end of term. We have to aim on students are able to do this. That is the main concern. Please, next. Now we are coming on outcome-based education. Its meaning is the meaning of outcome-based education. Next, please. Okay. Outcome-based education means clearly focusing and organizing everything in an education system around what is essential for all students to be able to do successfully at the end of their learning experience. Please, next. Its definition says, outcome-based education is a process that involves the restructuring of curriculum, assessment, and reporting practices in education to reflect the achievement of high-order learning and mastery rather than accumulation of course credits. Here they are talking about restructuring, and we are actually trying to restructure our lesson plans. Actually, we were already writing our objectives. While writing the lesson plan, we were writing objectives earlier, and objectives and outcomes are same, but now there is a slight change in the lesson plan. Instead of using the word learning objective, we'll be using the word learning outcomes, because that is the main concern. Our concern is outcome. So instead of writing learning objectives, now we'll be writing learning outcome, and especially restructuring our assessment, because assessment should be directly linked with the outcomes of the topic. Next, please. 4 essential principles are the principles on which this OBE depends. First principle is clarity of focus. This means that everything that teachers do must be clearly focused on what they want students to know and to do. We teachers should be always focused on the expectations which they are putting on the students, that you will be able to do all these things. So the teachers should focus on helping students develop knowledge, skills, and the most important, their personalities. It's our responsibility now. We have to change their personalities. So not only on knowledge, not only on skill, we have to rather focus on a change of their personalities. Second is designing down. So it means that curriculum design must be start clearly by defining the outcomes of that, learning outcomes of that topic, and students need the learning outcomes that students need to achieve by the end of the topic. And next is high expectations. So teacher has to establish high and challenging standards for of performance. It should not be very high. As I told you that our LOs should be achievable, but slowly and gradually we have to improve the standard of education. So we have to raise a standard slowly, and because successful learning promotes to successful learning. So it's our responsibility now to have high expectations. Now, next, the fourth one says expanded opportunities. The fourth principle is expanded opportunities. Teacher has to provide expanded opportunities for all the students. The idea behind this principle is lies on the point that not all the learners can learn the same thing in same way and in same time. So you all know that we are working on all kind of learners. So it's teachers' responsibility to give expanded opportunities to all the learners. And next is benefits of OBE. What are the benefits? It promotes high expectation and greater learnings for the students. Then second, prepares students for life and work values, attitudes and belief. The last one says it encourages decision making regarding curriculum, teaching methods, school structure, and management at each school or district level. So all these are the advantages of objective based, outcome based education. I think that's all for this PPT. Now I want to show you, Saran ma'am, I want to show them the video which I have given you. That video will clear your concept regarding the things I was telling you, that we have to state the learning outcomes very clearly to the students in the beginning only. Please watch the video. And
I'm going to start it.
is it audible?
If someone suddenly asks you to eat an unknown and unattractive dish, how would you feel? Confused, huh? You must be thinking, what is this food? How it tastes? Is it yummy or uneatable for you? What is the way of eating it? What is the health benefit of it? If you get all those answers to those questions right away, you might be interested to try this dish. If you find it tasty, you might eat the whole dish and maybe ask for more. But if you don't get the proper description of that unknown dish, how would you react? Probably you will say no. If you are a very polite person and you do not want to hurt a person by refusing the offer, you may say yes. However, you will be scared of the unknown taste of this unknown dish. Now, let's take this analogy to our classroom practice. As a teacher, when we offer a new lesson without a proper description to our students, it's like an unknown dish. They do not know very clearly what they are going to learn. Some kids will think this lesson might not be interesting. Some might think this lesson does not sound yummy. Let the teacher say whatever she wants to say. Some might say, "Oh, what is that? I do not know what I am learning. How I will be benefited by learning these concepts." Some students with high self esteem will say, "Huh, let's try to understand what the teacher is doing." Given the current scenario, it is predictable that only the students of last category will achieve more than others because they are owning this lesson. They took the ownership of their learning where others are struggling to make a connection with their life. Now, as you are a bold and conscious teacher, you want to make 100% students successful in their own way. Also, you want your students to take 100% responsibility for their own learning from a lesson. The question is how we can do that. Yes, that is the question we are trying to explore in this video. We are exploring how we can engage our students in the class so that they drive for their own learning. One of the most powerful concepts to address this issue is sharing learning intention and success criteria. Curious to learn more? Please grab your notebook so that you can remember the concept. Learning intention. Learning intention is basically telling the students about the what and why of a lesson. If you want your students to take 100% of their learning responsibility of a lesson, you need to say what they are going to learn and why they need to learn. From my personal experience, I can tell this practice helped me a lot to motivate my students in the lesson. Remember, unless you motivate your students by sharing what they are going to learn and why they need to learn, it is completely your lesson. It is not your students' lesson. It can be only their lesson if they know what they are learning and why it's worth of learning. Success criteria. After sharing learning intention with our students, the next most important part is to share success criteria. Everyone wants to be successful, our students too. But success is a vague term. Sometimes we forget to reflect what is success looks like for us. How will it look like for our students after every lesson? Setting success criteria is like setting key indicators defining success. It helps kids to self-reflect on their own performance. If you can set it and share it with your students, they can figure it out by themselves whether they are successful or not. It's like telling a group of kids an address, telling them how to go there, and finally telling some indicators so that they can figure it out by themselves whether they have reached their expected address or not. Well, let's review what we have learned so far. Learning intention. Learning intention is basically sharing with our students what they are going to learn in the lesson and why they need to learn it. Success criteria. Success criteria is basically setting some indicators that will tell your students whether they have achieved the lesson mastery or not. Want to see some practical demonstration? Please watch my next video. In next video, we will learn how we can execute this concept in our classroom. Please subscribe to this channel if you want to.
So that's all. That's all for the video, and Now I think it is very much clear to you that why it is important to share the LOs beforehand only with the students. Now I, uh, I'll be sharing with you my sample lesson plan. Should we shift back to computer or is it okay with you, Saran ma'am?
That
Should I connect again or should you share with?
because time is very less. So
So you start with the second PPT. I want to share with you all my sample lesson plan. This is a sample lesson plan. Okay, let ma'am share. Okay. So here I'm sharing with you one sample of a lesson plan which is really based on CBE, competency based education. And I've taken the topic fractional number. So please, first of, sorry, next. I forget that I'm here or here. Saran ma'am, Hanji. First is topic. You have to write the topics. The subtopics which I'll be covering in this are fractions in lowest term, comparison of fractions, addition and subtraction of fraction. And the general aim of the topic is students will relate and apply the use of fraction in different real life situations. Next, please. uh, Learning outcomes. As I told you, you have to start the outcomes with the STEM sentence, that is, students will be able to, and then don't write this sentence again and again. Once it is written, that's all. STEM sentence. Then you have to write the branches, that what they'll be able to do: reduce the fraction in lowest term, compare and order different unlike fractions, add and subtract unlike fractions, apply the method of addition and subtraction of fractions in real life situations by solving word problems. So these outcomes should be very much clearly written and stated also for students. Next. The content to be covered is fractional numbers introduction, comparison of fractions, basic operations on fractions. Next, please. Introduction. Teachers, I request one thing from all of you, whether they are in fifth or fourth or third, don't ever think that they have done this much in the last class, because some babies might have not understood in the last class. So whenever you'll start the topic, you'll start from the very basic things which were in the last class. Like we have to introduce the fractions once again. Give a little time for the introduction so that if they have forgotten what they learned last year, they'll again know what are the fractions actually. So we'll start with the activity which involves paper folding to tell them what is half, 1/2 and 1/4, quarter. So we'll start from the very basic things regarding the fractions. Next. Teaching strategies. So hurriedly I'll be telling you that I have shown some of my teaching strategies. So when you make your lesson plan, you also have to share your strategies with what you will be using in your lesson. So here I am told you how teacher will first start with the paper folding activity, and then will teacher will tell them what are the different types of fractions, and I have given the video links along with the subtopic, because I told you we are harnessing the internet power. So some of the videos are from YouTube, and some of them we have made ourselves when we were taking the classes. So you have to show the link which video we can use for this subtopic. Next is equivalent fraction. So I have explained the method, how I'll be helping students to know how to tell these fractions are equivalent or not. And there I have written the method also and example. With one example I have explained it. And again I have shared one link that can explain this subtopic very nicely. Next is comparison of fractions. Here also one model from the math lab can be shown, and the video also, the link is given here. So we can be asking students to do perform the activity of comparison of unit fractions, and it can be done any with craft papers. Even if we don't have that model right with us, so we can use papers, craft papers also. Next, here to arrange the fraction in ascending and descending order, we have to use LCM method to make them unlike fraction and to convert them into like fraction. And one PowerPoint presentation will be shown to students regarding this ascending descending order of fraction, because in that PowerPoint we'll be teaching them step by step how to perform that question actually, and all the links of the videos related to the subtopics are given here. Next. Okay. By relating the occurrence of different fractional numbers in real life situation of word problem involving addition and subtraction of fractional numbers will be explained. Tata Edge video will be shown for explaining the similar concepts. Activities using chocolates and marbles will be done involving the word problems related to fractional numbers. Next. Specific life skills and values. Students will acquire the skill to deal with fractional numbers in daily life. This is a skill, and also we have to put in the value in the students that what is the importance of sharing things with others. It is also in the form of fraction also. Correlation to real life and applicative knowledge. Students will be able to apply these concepts of fractional numbers in their real life situations. Next. Higher order things. Some of the word problems will be making for students which will involve some higher order thinking skills. Next. These are two HOTS I have written. You can see my HOTS assessment, the worksheet which I have given. Along with the question, I have written the learning outcome which it's directly linked with. So when you will make your assessment, you have to do this exactly the same thing. With the question, you have to relate the learning outcome which you are this question is related to. Like Rajan bought 5 liters of milk, 2.5 liters of milk was used for making sweets, 3/4 liters is used for making tea. How many liters of milk is left? So in this complex, it is a complex problem because in this students have to use both the operations. First they have to add the milk used and then they have to subtract the answer from the 5 liters. So what is the learning outcome related to this? Applying operation of addition and subtraction in real life situation. You have to show it like this. Second, again, Rohan ate 1/4 of cake on Monday, half of cake on Tuesday, as shown in the picture. What fraction of cake did he eat in all? So, which LO is it related to? Addition of fraction. For planning differential, yes, ma'am.
Sorry to disturb you. Please announce to the participant that they are required to fill the attendance link sent to them. It is compulsory for everyone to fill the attendance link.
Okay. So participants, please start filling up your attendance in the link. Please don't forget to fill that before leaving the meeting. It's compulsory for everybody. So for planning differential learning, we'll be having worksheets will be prepared in 3 levels: basic, average, and above average level for the students. For students who are not able to still solve the fractions, remedial classes can also be given. Then we have to write the teaching aids, colored papers, model, blackboard, chart, smart board, square sheets, crayons, Tata H videos. All these are teaching aids which we'll be using in this topic. And the references from where we have taken all the references. You have to mention your references also. This is the assessment, because assessment is very important. Saran ma'am, next slide. Next, please. Teaching aids, they are showing, the slide is showing teaching aids. Please come on assessment now. References done. You have to write the reference. Now, assessment. So I've made a small test here, and as I told you, you have to write your learning outcome along with the question, which learning outcome you are covering here. And it can be in the form of blanks or MCQs, but be very careful to minimum use of MCQs you can do, and don't make it a direct MCQ that the students are able to get the direct answer from the MCQ. Rather, they should have to work on it to get the answer. And here, first is reduce the fraction in lowest term. Students will be able to do addition of fractions. Next, ma'am. Find the value of this. So student will be able to perform addition and subtraction. Then we have a word problem, and the learning outcome which is related to it directly says that students will be able to compare and order unlike fraction, because they have to tell in this who brought the longest and who brought the smallest ribbon. So it is ascending and descending order. Then last, they will be able to apply operation of addition and subtraction in real life situations. So it's the last one only. It's my request, when you will make your assessment along with your lesson plan, then please don't forget you have to mention the learning outcome, which is directly linked with this question. Now, I have written some of the questions for you. Can you read the question and tell me the responses? Which learning outcome is related to first question? Color the portion and for answer. Which outcome is related to this question? Can you respond back in chat box? I think teachers are busy in filling the attendance, so I have to wait.
Is
If
it
you
possible to show, ma'am? Is it possible to show that slide of LOs once again so they can relate it? If it is possible, otherwise it's okay. No. Somebody has replied in the chat box. Okay, no problem. Just go ahead. No problem.
Okay. So, teachers, please, should we show you the LOs again, or can you just make out yourself which LO is related to this question?
You can read out the LOs, Amita. You can read them out also. If you,
okay, ma'am.
You have a printout, you can read them out.
Back on LO. I'll be reading for you again, okay? So, teachers, move back fast. I have to see the LOs.
Last slide.
You don't move the slide, sir and ma'am. Learning outcomes, first is students will be able to reduce the fraction in lowest term. Students will be able to compare and order different unlike fractions. They'll be able to add and subtract unlike fractions. And the last one says that they'll be able to apply the method of addition and subtraction in real life situations and by solving the word problem. So I want you teachers to respond back. What do you think first question, which LO is related to this question? Saran ma'am, do we have any responses?
No, not yet.
Okay. Next question says that Rima has 5-meter long ribbon. She used 2.5 meters out of it. How much ribbon is left with her? It is direct. You can tell which learning outcome is related to this question.
For the last
Please
question,
respond back.
Radha ma'am is saying students will be able to subtract the fractions.
That's so good. It is the answer which I was looking for. That's so good, Anuradha ma'am. Now you can read the next question. 3 boys ran in a ground. First boy ran 2 by 3 kilometers distance. Second boy ran 5 by 8 kilometers. And third boy ran 4 by 5 kilometers distance. Who among them did run the maximum and the minimum distance? Please respond back. Which learning outcome do you think this
And one,
question is?
they are writing how to subtract the subtraction of fractions.
I doubt it. It's not that. Any other response? Please read it carefully.
Addition and ordering, Anjali ma'am is saying. Anuradha ma'am is writing compare the fractions.
Yes. Anjali ma'am was telling exactly the answer I was looking for. It's actually ordering the fractions. Comparison we will do when we are having 2 fractions. But here I am having 3 of them. So in this we'll be using ascending and descending order. So students will be able to order the unlike fraction. That is the exact answer. Please next, Saran ma'am. Okay. Question number 4. Find the sum. This so everybody can tell me directly which learning outcome this is related to. Is there anybody response, ma'am?
Radha ma'am is writing first they will compare and then order. And for the it is addition of fractions by Bhanu.
Yes. Students will be able to add fractional numbers, unlike fractions. Then 5th question. Please, I'm looking for the responses for 5th question now. Forget about 3rd and 4th. Read the 5th one. Richa colored 8/12 part of a rectangle. What is the standard fractional part of color in rectangle?
It is Rashi ma'am is writing it is to add the unlike fractions.
That is question number 4. Now I'm seeking your responses for question number 5. 4th one is correct. Students will be able to add. But 5th one is a different question. I want your responses on this one. What standard fractional part is colored in the rectangle? Can anybody answer me? Am I not audible, ma'am?
You are very much audible. For Shivani ma'am,
You are audible.
So I'm audible for others now. Please read question number 5 and tell me which learning outcome this question is linked with. If you remember, I read for you learning outcome. The first learning outcome was
is to reduce the fraction, or Anuradha ma'am is writing to convert it into equivalent fraction.
yes, both can go for that, because the main learning outcome which it is covering is how to reduce the fraction into lowest term. So equivalent fraction also can go for it. Yes, that's good.
Amita, can I disturb for a minute? I
Yes,
think
sir.
you should be saying that which learning outcome is being measured by this question.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Or not only saying linked, because ultimately we are checking if students have reached those learning outcomes, right?
Okay.
And while making learning outcomes, we said they have to be measurable, right?
Yes,
So
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
now one of these assessment why we have to link them is so that we ensure that all our learning outcomes are measured by the various questions which we have covered, because we will only, when the children write those answers correctly, then only we come to know that the learning outcome has been achieved, right?
Okay. Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
So
Definitely.
please correct the terminology so that everybody is clear why we have to link them, right? It
Okay.
is only that we
Okay.
have to link them just to ensure that there is at least one or two questions in our assessment sheet which cover all one learning outcome, right? There
Yes,
could
ma'am.
be
Yes.
more than one questions for one learning outcome, but we have to tick them off so that at the end of the lesson, the child also knows that he has corrected all the questions. It means his learning outcomes have been achieved, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. So, as I was asking in question number 6, Jay gave 3/8 part of pizza to his brother and 1/3 of his to his sister. Who got more pizza? So now you have to tell that which outcome is being measured in this question. Please respond back fast. Actually, I am short of time, so be a little hurry up, please. You have to respond back.
Most of the teachers are responding like it is compare, comparison, convert, equivalent fraction.
Yes, it's the correct answer. All of you are correct because here students will be able to compare both the unlike fractions. That's good. And the last question here I have, find the value of these mixed numbers. Can you tell me which learning outcome is being measured in this question? Anybody?
Anjali Sharma ma'am is writing addition and subtraction of unlike fractions. Anuradha.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Students will be able to add and subtract unlike fraction. And it's very good, Anjali ma'am. That's so good. So I think I have this many questions only. And
Daily life
Saran
also.
ma'am, next slide I have given my. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah. In a high jump contest, Ramesh jumped 3 and 8/9 meters and Rakesh jumped 3 and 4/5 meters. Who jumped more height and by how much? Now tell me, which learning outcome is being measured by this question? Is there any response, Saran ma'am? Can you tell teachers which one you think the learning outcome is being measured here?
It's comparison by everyone.
Yeah, but here it is.
It is comparison. Amita ma'am, let's go to the next question. Amita ma'am.
I'm on phone only. Na?
Amita ma'am, please come to the next question. It is compare and subtract the fractions by everyone.
Yeah, because it is complex. They have to first compare. First, they have to compare the fractions and then they have to subtract also and tell that how much is the difference between the jump height. Next question says, during examination, Sonal studied science for 1/4 hours, maths for 2.5 hours, while social science for 1. Is there any problem?
I want to ask everyone, their attendance sheet is filled by everyone, is it? I because time is very less.
I think, Amita, now you should give 2-3 minutes for asking questions. I think enough of this has been checked. So I ask if anybody has any question which can be taken up.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. So teachers, please, as you have listened to me for 1 hour, please feel free to ask your queries if you have any regarding the lesson plan, regarding the assessment, how to create it. And Saran ma'am, please go to the next slide. There, my email ID is given on that, so that teachers can prepare their lesson plans and assessment and send it to me. This is my email ID. Teachers, you have to send back your homework, today's homework, to me. And if you have any query related to that homework, you can ask me that also.
Any query, teachers, please, you can ask.
No questions, Saran ma'am, please
There
tell
is
me, is there any query?
Amita. There is no query.
Okay. So is it clear to everybody how to prepare the lesson plan? It should be totally based on CB. And your assessment should be directly linked with LOs, and it should measure all the learning outcomes. As I told you earlier also, that if a student will be able to add fractions, then he will be so much happy that, oh wow, first LO is achieved. So that I told you, LO should be achievable. So if they'll achieve one by one all the learning outcomes, you can see yourself, you can feel yourself how encouraged the students will be, and they will be knowing what the assessment will be like, what things will be there in the assessment, what they are expected to do in the end of the topic fractions. And your lesson plan should also be covering all the things. So I think that's all from my side. And thank you so much for everybody. And ma'am principal, thank you so much for sparing your valuable time. And we are honored to have you here, ma'am. And we are always learning from you new things. Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you so much, Mr. Yogesh. Thank you so much for your cooperation.
Thank you, Amita. That was a very good presentation. Very good. Well done.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.